Hello, Neale Donald Walsch. How are you doing?
Well, I'm just great. Thank you for asking.
So tomorrow is Global Oneness Day.
Yes, it's very exciting. It's something we've been wanting to do for a long time. I think it's now into its third year, if I have my memory correct. And it's very exciting to me because I think it's the single most important message we could send to the world at this time, and the single most important aspect of our life as human beings on this planet. You know, we've had days set aside on our calendar now for everything that you can imagine, but it's taken all this time for us to set aside a day on the calendar for global oneness. But we've done it. We got the United Nations to go along with us on this and to give us their imprimatur and their okay and their endorsement. And as a result of Global Oneness Day, thousands of people all over the world will be involved in a wonderful experience tomorrow. Or when is it? The 23rd?
24th.
What, 24th?
Yep.
And people all over the world are going to be involved in activities at the local level, on the ground, as well as on the internet globally in their community. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I remember I just did an interview with Barbara Marx Hubbard a while back, and she brought up something pretty interesting, and it's the fact that even doing this right now, by putting this onto the internet, it connects us consciously, and it actually feeds into what Pierre Desjardins would call the noosphere, and it helps the collective consciousness absorb these different thoughts.
Yes, I think it's about, I agree with you. I think it's about, in fact, creating an environment that is an energetic environment, an environment within the consciousness of humanity. That's exactly correct. Those are the perfect words to use, to create that environment that begins to grow, to expand, to become part of our daily experience of life. The Green Movement has done a really wonderful job of this. And they had, and there's what is the day that they created the global day that the environmental movement created about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
I think it was called Earth Day.
Yeah.
So they created Earth Day, and I think that Earth Day has done a lot to raise the consciousness of people,
Right.
just to raise the awareness. So this is about raising awareness among human beings about our true and right relationship with each other, and by the way, I might add, with God.
You know, there's something I'm sensing different about you than from the last time we met a few years ago.
My hair is white, and the last time my hair is dark.
Yeah, mine's getting a little. Somebody told me that, hey, you know, your hair is turning a little gray, and I said, you know what? I don't care if it turns purple. You know, it's at least I have some hair here.
Yeah.
But there's something. Seriously, I'll be totally honest with you. When I first heard about this guy that talked to God, I had a hesitation of even wanting to go up and talk to you until I read your book. And there was something self-evident about the information in your Conversations with God book, you know? And I realized that I'm projecting an image of a messenger, and I'm forgetting about the message itself. And then when I came up to meet you, you weren't at all what I was expecting. You were a little more down to earth, but now you're even more so down to earth, if you don't mind me saying. There's something I'm sensing more real and genuine about you. Over the years, I guess this is what happens.
Yeah, I think it's called age.
Well, in that case, may we all grow older.
Well, you know, really, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and honestly, I think the older we get, the more authentic we get, truly. At least that's been my experience, and I observe it in a lot of other people as well. I know we're having an interesting aspect of this conversation right now, but here's something I've noticed. I've noticed that the older people get, especially when they get into their late 60s, their 70s, and their 80s, frankly, they begin to care less and less about appearances, about how it looks, about what other people think, whether they're garnering approval or not. They begin to just, they've been through it, they've gone past a lot of it. What they want to get out of life begins to shift and change. And they begin to say, you know what, this is just what's authentically true for me. And if you like it, terrific. If you don't, that's okay too. I think people do, in fact, become more authentic the older they get.
Right. Yeah, it's and that's a good thing.
I think so. Yeah, I think it's absolutely a good thing, and I wish that I could have done that. And I wish for all people that level of authenticity when they're 25, not when they're 65.
Well, it's looking really good on you, Neale.
Thank you. My father used to say, so old, so soon, so smart, so late.
Yeah. What to do? I just recently wrote a little article, and in the article I was talking about there's all kinds of things happening on the planet. Financial collapse, broken governments, corruption, the environment, global warming. There's so much. But I started wondering, what if we have it all wrong, and what if there's nothing wrong at all? Maybe this is part of a collapsing of this dream as we wake up to a higher reality. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that in many ways what you're saying may be correct. I think that there are some things that are wrong, quote unquote, by the current measure
right
of what is right and wrong. So by that measure, it would be difficult to argue that there's nothing wrong. It would be difficult to say there's nothing wrong with, for instance, 400 children dying every hour of starvation on this planet. It's difficult to argue that there's nothing wrong with the crime rate in the cities around the world and people getting murdered and raped and whatever, and there's nothing wrong with what's going on in Syria right now and so forth. Difficult to argue that by standard human measurements, there's nothing wrong with life on Earth right now. But even if we use that measure, which is not the measure that I use, and I perceive it's not the measure that you use, but even if we were to use that measure, the commonly held yardstick of humanity about what's right and wrong, what's good and what's not so good, even by that measure, we see that which we measure to be, estimate to be not okay, to be wrong, is really simply a building block to that which is right. As sad as it is that so many children die of starvation, as sad as it is that we have such violence in the world and so forth, we begin to see that these are what our lovely mutual friend Barbara Marx Hubbard would call the birth pangs, the birthing pangs of a new civilization. We are, I agree with Barbara's analogy and the model that she uses of the birthing of humanity. We are, in fact, just at the beginning moments of the time when we birth ourselves as a species into the cosmic community of sentient beings. And given that that's what's happening, all of the steps in that process, including the painful steps I've just described, are in some way perfectly placed to allow the process itself to emerge fully, and to allow humanity, for that matter, to emerge fully into its next grandest expression.
You know how I see you, Neale? I was talking to Bruce Lipton a few months ago, and he was explaining to me about the process of a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. And he said something that people don't pay a whole lot of attention to is the middle part where it spins a cocoon. After the caterpillar is practically wiped out its environment, for some unknown reason, it hangs upside down, spins a cocoon. And he says within that cocoon, if you would break it open, it's just a goopy mess. But part of the cells in there, the old structure of the caterpillar, is something called imaginative cells.
Yeah.
And he said that this is what biologists call them, imaginative cells. And they tune in to a hidden frequency, like a sacred emerging reality. And around those imaginative cells, picking up that frequency, is where the butterfly starts emerging.
Yeah.
And I think the imaginative cells in this case are people like yourself, visionaries, and people that are, for whatever reason, can disconnect a little bit from all of the stuff that happens on this planet and tune into a higher reality and translate it in a kind of a way that other people can understand it and start building this new emerging reality.
Yeah, you're right.
So
I agree with that.
Do you think that what we're going through here on planet Earth, do you think we're part of this larger process?
Well, I mean, obviously we are. I'm sorry, it's a leading question. And the answer is, of course we are.
And it's natural.
Of course it is. It's exactly what's going on. There's nothing unnatural about it. All we have to do is understand fully what is happening, why it's happening, and how we can participate in a different way. Let me just share something with you, if I may. My experience and my observation of my own life for the past 67 years, 69 years, but who's counting, has been that for most of those 69 years, I have been going after the wrong thing. And as I look at the rest of humanity around me, my family, my friends, my associates, my acquaintances, and then in the outer circle, just people that I know in the world, I notice that the largest number of those people are doing the exact same thing. That is, we imagine ourselves to be going after one goal, and the truth is, we are really hankering for another goal altogether. And we think that by going after this and by capturing this, we're going to get this. And the irony of it is, it's just the other way around. By going after this and capturing this, we ultimately get this. I asked a question in my most recent published book, prior to The Only Thing That Matters. And the book that I published last year was called The Storm Before the Calm. In that book, I asked a question. How is it possible for 7 billion people to all claim they want the same thing and to be unable to get it? How is it possible for the world's population of sentient beings, imagining themselves to be highly evolved sentient beings, to all be striving for the same thing, and to have been, I might add, striving for those things for thousands of years? We didn't just start this in 1956 or 1941 or 1927. We started striving for these things at the dawn of human history. All we want is happiness, health, opportunity, and in today's terms, prosperity, security, love, joy, peace. I mean, our goals are really quite simple. And yet with the simplicity of those goals and the opportunity to achieve them for the largest number of people for thousands of years, we've been unable to do so. Now, how is that possible if we imagine ourselves to be truly an evolved species, that only the tiniest percentage of us have been able to achieve those goals, and even that tiny percentage can only achieve those goals for a small percentage of time? What is it that we're missing here that we don't understand? Is it possible that there's something we don't fully understand here about life, the understanding of which would change everything? And I've looked at that question very closely, and I've asked God for help in understanding. And God said, Neale, it's so simple. Of course there's a reason why, after thousands of years, you've gotten no closer as a species, perhaps moved further back, actually, from that goal. It could be argued that in our so-called more primitive times, more of us had health, peace, prosperity, safety, security, happiness, and love than have that now. But God said, Neale, the reason is quite simple. You're going after the wrong stuff. You, in fact, are looking for health, peace, prosperity, security, happiness, joy, love. And I said, we're not supposed to be going after that? He said, no. Neale, those are fallout effects. Those are things that occur automatically when you go after what's here. And when you succeed in grasping and attaining what's here, then all those things you've been going after here, health, safety, peace, prosperity, security, and all the rest, that will come to you automatically. And then God said to me, I sent someone down there a few years ago who put it perfectly. He said, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you. So God said, if you make this the goal and the objective of your life, that is the kingdom of God, and live into that, that is, allow yourself to notice that this is really the only thing that matters, that you would express and experience, become and fulfill the highest expression of divinity of which you are capable in any given moment. And notice that I, through the intervention of your own soul, will create the right and perfect circumstances